This podcast provides a platform for our guests to share their experiences and inspire our listeners to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. As you listen, we invite you to explore how these concepts apply to your own story. You know what to do. Be great and be grateful. We're mic'd up with Mike DiCioccio. Hey guys, our guest today has been featured alongside names such as Oprah Winfrey, Will Smith, and Arnold Schwarzenegger. His skills and experience in crisis, leadership, and mental health have made him an in-demand virtual speaker, presenter, and panelist. I'm honored to have him here with us today, virtually all the way from New Zealand. He's 16 hours in the future. Welcome to the show, my friend, Dion Jensen.
Oh, man, it's so good to be here, Mike. It is such an honor. I mean, I've listened to your podcast. I listened to the one yesterday while I was raking the leaves. And yes, I am 16 hours in the future. I can tell you what's going to happen. So ask me the questions that people want to know, and we can help out.
Yeah, if we're not sure what's going on, just text Dion, right?
Absolutely.
Actually, what we could do is we can go on Instagram to Mr. Dion Jensen. It's DionJensen. And how I actually first found Dion was really cool. You guys, if you're listening to this and you're either a startup entrepreneur or you've been in business and you're using social media on a daily basis and you're looking for inspirational and motivational content, there's like a 99% chance you've seen a Goalcast video already. They really cover everything. I've seen one with Steven Spielberg in it. There's so many different, a lot of times they do use celebrities to tell their story. And it's just phenomenal content. So I'm watching one day, and guess who's on? Dion Jensen, right? And so welcome to the show. I'm going to let you, take a little bit of time, tell us about yourself. And then what I'm going to do is play that clip for anybody who hasn't maybe seen it or heard it that's tuning in for the first time. Mm-hmm. And then they'll get the audio. And obviously, if they're watching this, the video of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate it. And probably the first thing straight off the bat, Mike, I've listened to your podcast and I listen to Goldcast and I listen to a lot. And anyone listening to this, it's part of our daily routine. If I get up in the morning, I go for a run with the dog, or I'm doing anything, I've got a podcast playing because I'm programming my mind with what I want to get to where I want to go to. And the first thing straight off the bat is, yes, Mike's found me because of this huge Goldcast machine of only over 30 million subscribers. Mm-hmm. So they select what's topical. And although I appreciate that, the only reason we've got to this level, Mike, is the message is important. Mm-hmm. And our motives have stayed pure. That is it. So if you forget everything else from this podcast, if you have something in you that needs to get out, you have to stay true to that mission. And it's not me. Look, I take credit for all the stuff that I've been through to keep this going, for sure. But it is the message that is resonating with people, not Dion Jensen. I'm just a vessel for the message.
Yeah, it comes down to the content all the time, right? So if there's really strong content, you could put two pieces out, right? The piece that's going to speak to someone is going to have a strong message. And
only if the motive's pure.
If the motive is pure, absolutely.
Yeah, because, and you're from sales. We all have to do sales as part of our business. And I've always done sales differently. I just speak to myself in that moment of needing what I have. Mm-hmm. And so if you're in pain, which is basically the people I talk to most of the time, you can't sell people in pain. I'm not interested in buying anything in pain. I'm interested in someone helping with the pain. Yeah. So yes, you've got to have great content and we can split test and do the numbers, but where the attachment, the engagement and all of those numbers flip and change on engagement and revenue is when people resonate with the message and they also understand the motive. Because if you don't trust the messenger, you're not going to listen to the message.
Yeah, I think that's great. That goes for building relationships. It could be talking about branding and marketing. It could be talking about what you do, which we're going to dive in. And I did a lot of research and I appreciate you sending over some information. So, because you have a lot going on. And one thing that I want to share is you mentioned you have great friends in your networking groups and in your mastermind group where you're helping each other out, right? You're working through tough decisions and challenges together. And you bring to the table, hey, I'm doing all these different things. And something you've heard multiple times is, Dion, you're doing too much. You're doing too many things, right? And other people are kind of putting you in a category for what your dreams look like, opposed to you understanding what's in your heart. So if somebody's hearing that right now, because most of the people tuning in, I feel are going to be go, 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 and looking for more, looking for that piece of information in this conversation they can run with and go turn it into their next brilliant idea. That's at least my desire for the show. Someone tells you, Dion, you're doing too much. How do you respond to that?
Well, firstly, they're right, because they're looking at me through their own lens and filter.
Yeah.
Because that's all we can ever do, look at someone through our own lens and filter, until they can get in my head and I can explain what my lens and filter is. And that really is a waste of time for you as an entrepreneur to get validation for what you're doing. It becomes very important when you get further down the stage to having a clear message to market. Mm-hmm. And that's where people are coming from. Dion, you've got to let people know, who are you? What do you do? Why should they care? Which is very, very true. But from the inside out as an entrepreneur, I know my strategy. I know my mission. Mm-hmm. I know that my skill set, you can throw me into any problem and I will be able to map a solution. That's my skill. But it really came down to, and for anyone listening, I'm not religious at all, but I love Jesus, and he is just an amazing entrepreneur leader to follow. And the book of Proverbs always made sense to me. And one quote that Jesus said was, there's many rooms in my Father's house, mm-hmm. and I go to prepare a room for you. So in my mind, it's like, well, that makes perfect sense, because I'm from the military. Mm-hmm. On the military base, we've got lots of different units and lots of different buildings for different purposes. And when people are saying, Dion, pick one thing, it's like, go in there and choose to be this. Go into this whole city and choose this one shop front. And I'm like, no, I want to build the city. I want to build the base. I want to build a huge environment so that anyone coming in any of the doors can get what they need.
Yeah, I love that. I do have a question. I didn't know we were going to go here, but it's cool. It's like I prepared. It's always great to be prepared, but it's the whole idea of my show is to be more conversational. I don't want to just go question, answer. You just mentioned something I think is interesting, and I did see it in another video that you recorded too, where you're talking to a group and you're presenting that concept of, might have been on your Instagram channel, and you said, I follow Jesus's ways or something along those lines, yet I'm not religious. Can you explain that to me? Because I do believe in God. I believe in Jesus, and I'm building every single day. I'm doing the best I can to be more spiritual and in that moment every day, and also in the Word every day. So how can one follow Jesus yet not be religious? I'm just kind of, I'm not trying to pick on you.
No, I love it. I love it. And these are conversations that have to come, because when everyone's sitting and listening to this, you're not wearing a mask.
No.
You're listening to this podcast now, and you're in your own head, and no one can see or hear this conversation that's going on in your headphones or in your head right now. And just to qualify that, I used to do lots of weights in the gym when I was over in Iraq and close to protection. And you normally listen to really hardcore music so you can lift heavy. I'm listening to marriage counseling. Mm-hmm. I don't want anyone to know what I'm listening to, because I don't want to be judged, right? So right now, listening to this, you're going to get this all the time, regardless of what your religion is, regardless of what your beliefs are.
Right.
On this entrepreneurial journey, you're going to hit this decision moment. Can you be yourself with your beliefs? Or is someone going to tell you can't talk about religion, politics, or work with animals and kids? So when I was praying this morning and reading Proverbs after walking the dog and talking to my kids and listening to people slag off Donald Trump, so I've talked about the 4 things I'm not supposed to. It is a relationship, Mike. My relationship with my wife is none of your business. That's our business. My relationship with Jesus is no one else's business. That's my business.
Yeah.
However, if someone wants to know about me, because unless you know, like, and trust me, you're not going to listen to my message. Mm-hmm. So I've got on LinkedIn on my profile, I'm a Jesus fan. And when anyone talks to me, I'm not religious. So the difference for me between having a relationship with Jesus and religion, mm-hmm. religion is the man-made process that tells you how to have that relationship with who you believe in. Mm-hmm. That's my difference. So if you say to me, Dion, do you read the Bible every day? Yes. Dion, do you believe in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit? Yes. Do you believe in the Holy Trinity? I don't know. Do you believe in heaven and hell? I don't care. I believe in doing my mission, which is to go and empower people. And any religious text that you can come up with, we can find something to match with how we feel.
Well, there's a reason I wanted to say, because I don't like to assume. You know what they say about assuming. And number 2 is I feel it's really strong for people to hear that, because you have your beliefs and you're taking action within your own spirituality every day. You're praying and you mentioned being in the Word and everything else. But you were careful about using the word religious. So
Correct.
to me, and I guess everybody can have their own context or their own belief in it. But I agree with religion where it kind of puts a box around things, and there's certain religions that are check boxes, like you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do that. But really, I do agree with you, and everyone could form their own opinion that it's more important to be one-on-one with that relationship, right?
Right.
And with yourself. And it is private. It is something you do not need to share with everybody and go knocking on doors and stuff. But I do feel like, discipleship is something that it could be shared and is encouraged to be shared. So it was a careful thing. I just wanted to make sure we talked about, because
you can ask me anything you like. Fear is one of my best friends, but I don't fear these conversations. I was born and raised in Singapore. I got Muslim, Hindu, Sikh. I got every possible religion that you can think of, or sexuality if you want to go there, in my social circle, and we all have the same mindset. Yeah. Your personal choice of who and what you believe in is your business.
Right.
So long as you're not forcing that on someone else or using that to control people, and that's my issue with religion. The man-made process around it, utilized to control people.
Yeah. Oh, very well said. And I knew you could handle it. And one of the reasons you're on the show, there's many, but one is your transparency. You're real. You don't wear those masks. I mean, you felt you have in the past, and you share part of your journey is learning from the way you felt, and you help coach and inspire people through it. And if I haven't played that video yet in the edited version, we're going to do that right now so people could be up to speed on that. But I know right now we're in the middle of COVID-19 and it's the lockdown. And in New Zealand, it's actually called level 3 lockdown. You mentioned off camera, right? So how are you guys doing? Just make sure you guys doing okay out there? Level 3 lockdown. There's 4 levels, right?
Yeah. So level 1 has been aware of everything. Level 2 is trying to limit your movements. Level 3, where we are now, is stay in your own bubble and try and only go out there for, essential movements, but certain shops are open. And level 4 is, unless you're an essential worker, stay at home, unless you're going to the supermarket or the pharmacy. But how people will handle any crisis really comes down to the culture of that country, which is built up by the individuals that are within it. So you can see this across the world, how different cultures have handled this. And leadership has a huge focus on that. And I've been waiting to say this with you on the show. It all depends who's holding the mic, Mike.
We call it mic'd up, right? That's the name of the show.
Exactly.
So here's what we're going to do, guys. This clip right here is from Goalcast. It's the reason that Dion and I are having this conversation right now. It's been many months in planning. Enjoy this clip. I want this, if you're driving right now, obviously don't stop and watch this or whatever. Be safe, be careful. If you're going for a jog, you may want to take a look at the clip. If you're listening and doing chores around the house or your home workout right now, the reason I'm showing you this clip is so you have some context of what Dion is all about and what has started to generate buzz around the different things he's doing, and then we're going to peel that back. So enjoy.
My job description was to seek out, find people, and kill them in the name of our country and defense. Here's an example. We were on a mission in the far north of this country. There was only 6 of us. We were protecting a high-level diplomat, yet the whole team had food poisoning except for me. So I was the only person available to protect this person. While everyone else was laying in a bathtub, I had the client in one room, had my pistol on my chest, and I was sleeping on the couch. Glock 17 pistol, magazine on, weapon cocked, no safety catch, ready to deal with any person that came through that door. I had the ability to recognize the situation, find the fear, make it come true, get in there and deal with it to keep people safe. I was very good at it. But at 3 o'clock in the morning, it wasn't one person that came through the door. It was 6 people. I've gone from being asleep to ready to go. 6'4", 115 kgs, trained to kill. 1 round up the spout, pulled the trigger, power of life and death in my hands. I dealt with that situation, and to the person that I was protecting, I became the most important person on the planet to that man. There was a time the mirror was my greatest enemy. I hated what I saw in the mirror. Hated him. Because I started playing this dangerous game called comparison. I started comparing what I used to be to what I am now. Fat, broke, depressed. I started attacking myself in 4 areas where you'll get attacked. Those are the 4 L's. The first L are your looks. Too fat, too skinny, too short. The second L is your language. You get attacked for how you speak or your lack thereof. The third L is your likability. Everyone wants to be liked. That's why Facebook calls it likes. And the fourth L is your legitimacy as a human being. You're not a legitimate human being if you're in love with the same sex. You're not a legitimate human being if you believe a certain belief. Does anyone have the right to judge you for how you look? Yes or no? No. Does anyone have the right to judge you for how you speak, what you say, and what you believe in? No. Does anyone else have the right to decide if you're a legitimate human being or not? Yes or no? Then why do we do it to ourselves? Then I learned another secret. No matter what I saw, those that loved me saw something totally different. Those little monkeys didn't see a fat, broke, depressed, useless human being. They saw Daddy. To them, Daddy was the hero. Daddy was fit and strong and made them feel safe. So I had to get fit again. So I was using my kids as fuel. So this is what I did with my positive thinking. I looked at myself in the mirror and I said these words. From this moment on, I'm only going to say and act in a way towards you that makes us feel good. And it worked. It started to get better and better. I started to feel happier and happier. And other people started noticing the changes too. So I continued to train. We did all right. Not too bad. But we were happy when we saw each other. How I felt inside was more important than how I looked. If you are dealing with any of these battles, any of the 4 L's, you'll be fighting yourself. But if there is no enemy within, then the enemy without can do us no harm. Wherever you go in this world, you take yourself with you. You're going to see yourself every day in the mirror. Be your own best friend. If you want to succeed in life and not have the outside world have control of you, you can do it. But it all starts with making peace with the mirror.
Man, that hits me every time. As a dad, it's super heavy. I love the message. And what I really love, the one point I want to take out of there to start with is make peace with the mirror. Let's talk about that. There's 4 L's you mentioned in the video: looks, language, likability, and legitimacy. Making peace with the mirror. So tell us about how you got to that place where you're inspiring people to do that.
Pain was the trigger to get to that point, Mike.
Was it from a really young age, or did you feel you were kind of beating yourself up for a long time, or was there a moment?
No, it went round the other way. I built myself, to the point where I was at the top of the mountain. I had the power of life and death. I feared nothing, and I was hungry to exercise that power over anyone that was the enemy of my mind. Mm-hmm. And when you have that power over life and death over one, Mike, you control people's oxygen supply. Mm-hmm. And I had become someone that I hated because I was a bully. I was bullied when I was a kid, right? And the sad thing about those of us that were bullied as kids is when we get strong, we in effect become bullies ourselves over who we perceive to be bullies. And then it's a crazy cycle. I've gone from being picked on for how I looked, how I would speak, what I had to do to be liked and to be a legitimate person, to be a legitimate human being accepted within a group. I had to behave in a way that everyone else wanted me to behave. Otherwise, I experienced pain, right? Pain of judgment, exclusion, or getting beaten up. And so all that really is, if you break that down, is people using fear to gain control. Mm-hmm. And that's all a bully does, is use fear to gain control. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as you can identify someone's fear, you have complete control over them. So we became specialists in the military because that's our job. Our job is to kill people at the end of the day. That's our job. To seek out and close with the enemy, to kill or to capture him. So my highest skill set was understanding everything that you fear and make it come true. Because at the end of the day, I control your oxygen supply.
So you were on the offense in that situation and also on the defense. So I mean, you're protecting people.
There's no defense, mate. The best form of defense is offense, right? So it's fight. You're up the front. Anything comes near you, you attack.
Yeah.
There's no defensive option here. It's all offense.
Can I just? I want to dive into the clip real quick because you leave us with a cliffhanger. There's a moment where you're talking about it's 3 a.m. 6 guys are coming through the door. You're protecting a client or someone who hired you to be there, right? Are you in the CIA in that moment?
No, heck no. So officially, we are hired basically under diplomatic protection, but in a private role. So we're private contractors.
Okay.
And you are selected for certain contracts. So that particular contract, I was working for the British government.
Okay.
And I was protecting the British Consul General. And so our particular team was moving him around Northern
He's
Iraq.
constantly moving, and you guys are taking shifts so you make sure you don't fall asleep.
So that was a big road move, that one, but everyone got food poisoning except for me. So everyone was sick. So normally, you would stagger those shifts and you would take times. But it's not as clean cut as all the training. And this is what people don't understand. So you've got the civilian element, then you can move into security, and then you can move into law enforcement. I was a police officer as well. And within the police force, you have those special tactical units. I wasn't part of that. I was a normal street cop. And then when you go into close protection, it's a mix of all of those people. Like I'm working with Navy SEALs and Delta and Rangers and CIA and FBI, all these types of people with these little 3-letter acronyms after their name, the SAS, Special Force, all those sorts of guys. We're all mixed on those teams because you are selected for competency, not for the label. So there's guys that are still working for Special Forces that are assigned because they're still in the military. And there's ex-Special Forces guys that are just individual contractors that are selected contract by contract, like we all were. And you all end up on the same teams. And so it only came down to one
perspective. In that moment, Dion, did you already have a family? Were you married with kids while you're there protecting?
No, so I was married at the time, but we didn't have kids. And when I found out that my wife was pregnant with our daughter, that's when the shift is: do I want to keep being this person or do I want to come home? Because it is very addictive as a male who's a lion to be running around with the top lions in the world doing what lions do. Yeah. And at some point you look in the mirror and you can be happy with that and stay like that, or you do the numbers. And when I did the numbers, it's like, yeah, I'm not happy with this. And so I made the decision to come back, and that was off another story that I haven't told, where I would have been justified in shooting someone, and I didn't. And it ended up, I'm so glad I didn't, otherwise I would have taken an innocent life. And at that point, I really had to think and go, well, hang on a second. This is someone that made an error that could have cost him his life. But I would have still been following the process, and that could have been someone's dad. So that's when I really had to make a decision. And in between that, one of my best mates got killed, and that just made me very, very angry. So that was all cycling at the same time. Right.
And this is the last thing I'm going to point out in the video. So you mentioned those 6 guys are coming in, right? Yeah. It's not told what happens after. Can you share that with it being maybe like the PG version of what's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, I didn't have to shoot anyone on that one. So basically, we had the client.
Did you know they were coming? Were you aware they were coming?
No. We just, because you have to go into semi-secure hotel areas, and hotel is a loose word when you're in the northern parts of Arabic countries, and anyone that's from that world knows that. It's normally a fortified area, but no one's a friendly. Everyone knows someone else, and we just had to stay there for the agreements that he had with, who he was meeting, because we're helping refugees come back into northern Iraq who had been gassed and bombed by Saddam at the time. So we're doing good stuff. We're facilitating meetings where he's up there with Talabani or Barzani, and we're trying to get people back into the country that have been massacred. If you want to Google a place called Halabja, it was where Saddam gassed all the Kurds. We were there. We went to that village with that client. So we're doing good stuff there. And so he had an assistant who was a blonde lady, and there was a $10,000 US price tag for any white woman that could be snatched and given to obviously the criminal element or the rogue element there. So in hindsight, what it looks like is they tried to get to her and got the wrong room. And all it was a 6-man snatch team. And if anything, they didn't present with any firearms. They just all came through the door quite quickly. And then I basically told them in the universal language that they probably didn't need to be there. And I was able to usher them down the stairs at speed without having to pull the trigger on any of them, but all ready to go. So if any of them had been armed when they come through the door, I would have just taking out 6
Would have
people.
been a different ending of the story.
Yeah, but that's just training.
And was that just another day for you that you happened to be talking about, or was that?
I mean, that's probably the closest hands-on in that country. But I've had closer hands-on as a cop mate, people trying to stab me in bottles, and I'm just going toe-to-toe by myself with one other person fighting a crowd where if you go down, you die. The difference with the close protection role is everyone's trying to kill you every day, as opposed to it may happen as a cop, and you may have to take a life.
Yeah. So I appreciate you sharing that. Obviously, everyone now saw the clip or heard the clip, and so they know in context what you were involved with. And your daughter is born. You start to make a little bit of a transformation, right? And now you're out educating and you're helping people. And it's heavily soldiers that are, some are current and active, and others are dealing with some trauma, right? So can you?
Yeah, that transition.
You got the shirt on, right? You got the cool Line Academy shirt, which is one. Yeah. You got successforsoldiers.com, which is another business. And since we're talking about that area, why don't you share a little bit about what that is and how we can tune into what you're teaching? And if someone's listening and maybe they were a soldier and they're looking for some help, they can reach out to you at successforsoldiers.com, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head with the segue there, Mike, was the transition coming back from that world. Mm-hmm. And so coming back from that world, my credibility is how dangerous I am. My credibility is how I can recognize a situation that terrifies someone and just love it in there. And so the natural progression when you come back is to try and find work, right? You got to pay the mortgage. So now you're trying to stay as close to that vein as you can. So you can only you can go into the police. I left the police to do that job so they wouldn't take us back. You're going to be in a prison warden, or you go into some sort of security role or something in security management. Mm-hmm. And so I went down the security management side, and then when the work ran out, I ended up being a basic security guard sitting on a plastic chair next to open sewage, from the top of the mountain to the bottom. And that's in my book, The Good News About PTSD. So successforsoldiers.com was me just articulating the shitstorm. There's an absolute shitstorm, Mike. You come back of having all of this value, getting paid ridiculous amounts of money to put your life on the line for super important people at a global level. And now you're sitting on a plastic chair next to open sewage. And there'll be people listening to this that are veterans, that have done high-level jobs, that have probably lost friends and family members to the mission. Mm-hmm. And now they're working at KFC or McDonald's. And some of those guys, they just can't take that. So they'd rather be homeless and destitute than go back to the bottom of the pile, so to speak. Gone from being a lion, downgraded to being back into the wolf pack, and then thrown out on the street and being a dog.
And then also like management style is trying to teach everyone to be a sheep.
Well, it's an interesting one. We'll talk about sheep in a moment, but the corporate world still uses fear to gain control. Mm-hmm. The problem with us is if you throw fear at us to try and get control,
there's going to be conflict.
Not going to be conflict. You're going to get hurt. So if you're a manager and you come to me, and this is what happened, I wrote in the book, the first time a civilian manager tried that with me, he clicked his fingers at me like I was a dog, pointed at me and said, "Come here." And in that moment, he saw the look at my eye and started running backwards because I would have killed him. So you've just made a loud noise. You poke the finger at me and you call me like I'm a dog. And so you're basically attacking me.
You didn't say anything to him? You just looked at him?
I just looked at him, started heading towards him. He's gone. If I had got my hands on that guy, I would have broken him. Because that's the mindset that I've come back from. And please, anyone listen to this right now, there is good news at the end of all of this. I'm not crazy, all right? But that is the real raw transition that our troops are coming back from. You've trained them to be this lion, and then you throw them into the corporate world, and we call them sheep. They're not sheep. Anyone listening here that's civilian and corporate world, you're not sheep, but we use those languages because it's the difference between predator and prey.
Yeah. I didn't even mean it in a negative necessarily. It's just,
Oh, we do. We talk about
there is that use of it, but I'm just saying like someone who's in there as a lion, right? And then you're just in a different classification. You could still be a lion among the sheep, but the system is trying to force you into something.
System is, yes.
Say. Yeah. And so you mentioned shitstorm right there. And that was actually something in one of your videos, and it was a whole series of videos that was part of it was like the shitstorm series, so it caught my attention, right? That's one good way Great marketing, by the way. You caught my attention. But one of the videos, it shares a roadmap of how a soldier, when they're removed from their tribe, they can go down a slippery slope. You referred to it as the shitstorm. And then there's frustration that leads to anger, and that leads to bitterness, to someone eventually becoming an a-hole. You even claimed you fell into that category yourself. And that's when you had the moment of, hey, how do I get out of, why am I an a-hole right now?
Yep.
And you kind of reverse engineered those steps. So, you found your way back to your tribe, right? And then essentially it was your purpose. So enlighten our audience on how your system, I know the key terms here are that it empowers military and ex-military to take control of their life and be purpose-driven. Give us some insight into that.
Sure. So to have the highest value as a soldier or from that law enforcement background is you need a mission, you need a team, and you need an enemy. Mm-hmm. If you have those three things, you have value, you have something to contribute. So I had a mission, and that started within myself. I sort myself out. So I had to reverse engineer that to get myself back to where I was in control. And then I started sharing what those steps were. And so, yes, we go down one path all the way, and we can end up being an angry, bitter a-hole. But the other path is where we withdraw, we isolate, and we fade out. And both of those roads lead to suicide. It leads to not wanting to be here anymore for different reasons. And then all I did was assign characters to the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that people recognize. So it's like, is your husband a werewolf? Do you have to walk around on eggshells? There's Anzac Day, Remembrance Day. Anytime he catches up with the guys, he gets drunk, he comes back and he beats mum up. Why is dad sitting up at 2:00 in the morning with a bottle of whiskey staring out the window? Don't wake dad up when he's asleep unless you touch his feet first, so he's going to wake up swinging. So all of these things were real things that we all went through. And when I started sharing, hey, this, and this, and this, and this was happening to me. And so I did this, and this to stop it from happening and explain why those things were happening. Everyone that's been through it, Mike, just went, I'm a werewolf. I'm a paranoid assassin. Yes, the ghost is waking me up with nightmares. What do I do?
Yeah.
I had to give them a plan. I had to give them a map. And all I've ever done and all I continue to do is I share what I've done. And I only use 3 words: think, feel, and do. I will share with you what I was thinking in the situation, how it made me feel, and what I did. Mm-hmm. And then share the results of that. Mm-hmm. And where do you think I got that from? It's from the book of Proverbs, right? In this situation, do this, it's good. Do this, it's bad, you choose.
Yeah. And you're teaching people relevant areas that you have direct connection to. You live through it. So you're not trying to teach someone out in an area that you didn't have the experience in. And what you're noticing is there's a lot of common denominators. As you mentioned, you would ask people, you ever experience anything like this? And the answers were yes, 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 right? So you are qualified many times over to help someone like that. They go to successforsoldiers.com and they can also get a copy of your book. I'm going to show it right here. Share a little bit about the book.
Yeah, absolutely. That book was terrifying to write, Mike. That was, because we talk about wearing masks. We make masks. And we go into a situation, I'll design a mask to have the highest value and keep control of that situation. So we're mask makers. And so that book was just taking all the masks off, and I shared everything in that book. It was terrifying to write. It saved so many lives because of one key thing: language. I spoke the language of the darkness. I spoke the language of the tribe. I'm saying things that people are thinking in their head that no one else knows. So they're watching these videos, reading this book, going, how does he know these words that are in my head?
Yeah.
Because no one else knows them. Or I've been there. And so for entrepreneurs now, and I'll balance this because this is not for, it started with soldiers because that was the rawest, scariest, most dangerous tribe that can hurt ourselves and hurt other people, right? And I'm from there. But as I started sharing that with other people, wives were contacting me, husbands were contacting me, kids were contacting me about their partners. So it had a flow-on effect to civilians. Yeah. And then so when I started talking to civilians, they understood it, but it scared them because I was using our language. So if you go to successforsoldiers.com, that's the gateway down the military side. And that will lead you to the good news about PTSD, which is about PTSD and how to get out of it, through the book into a community. So that whole path is mapped. If you've worn a uniform and carried a weapon or supported someone that has, that gateway will give you something to get you going and to win again. And then my plan was, as I started dealing with civilian psychs and counselors, I had to train them to speak our language. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't speak the same language, you can't communicate. And if you push your language, and we're big, scary people, if we became too animated with it, then we'd scare people. Hey, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this. That just scared people from a different demographic. And that's what the police taught me. The police taught me you are every single minute of every single day adopting your communication style to suit. I could be speaking to a lawyer and say, look, my apologies, sir, I am pulling you over under Section 114 of the Land Transport Act 1998. I now require you to blah, 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 blah. Or I could pull someone and go, hey, bro, just checking warrants today, you all good? And so we were always constantly altering our communication style. So I took that across into the civilian world.
It's a great skill.
But I had my motives were to get paid to do what no one else could do and bring that money back for my veterans. Mm-hmm. So my highest skill set as a trainer, you help me, you task me, Dion, get Mike from point A to point B, and he needs to learn these 3 things. I'll get you there. That's my skill. And the speaking is a way I speak to inspire people that it's possible and connect with them. So for entrepreneurs, there's 4 levels that I've learned through this journey. When you first talk, for those of you that don't know me, you're now working off Mike's credibility. I am borrowing Mike's credibility from this podcast. Look, Mike's got this guy on the show. Maybe I'll listen to this guy for a little bit. So you're going to be curious. So the first level when you're an entrepreneur, when you start coming out with things, people will be curious about it. Then you have to establish credibility. So from curiosity to credibility. Now I have an enormous amount of credibility within my tribe because my value system within my tribe is very high. But do you think an ex-soldier coming out of all this stuff with a Goldcast video about killing people has any value in the corporate world? Well, it does in crisis, which is why we're on this podcast and why I'm doing all these podcasts on crisis, because it's things that we can do. It doesn't scare us. But it wasn't until I established the credibility of being clinically endorsed. So all of my stuff is clinically endorsed. It's not just this ex-soldier guy saying, hey, this is my idea. I took my idea to those people that said, actually, Dion, you're following Carl Jung's archetypes, you're externalizing, you're normalizing, this follows cognitive behavior therapy, and said all these words I didn't understand.
Sounds like you got a good hold on it.
Yeah. And then so I took that lesson into the corporate world where it wasn't lives. And there are corporate entities that do this right, but 99% of a corporate entity is about engagement, productivity, and revenue, Mike. And that's why startups these days and entrepreneurs are all on the social scale, because actually it's all about caring about people. So we hit this big clash. Mm-hmm. So I was able to take my credibility of creating order out of chaos, using fear in the middle of crisis to come up with a plan, because in the middle of crisis, people just want to know what to do. Mm-hmm. Don't tell me what I'm thinking about and what I'm feeling, just what I do. So you go curiosity, credibility, and then you become an authority in your space. And so when I started getting more and more results, I went from credibility to authority. So I'm an authority in my space. You want to know about veterans and PTSD, mental health, transition, I'm an authority. You're going to find me. It's like you said at the start of this. I'm now an authority in my space because I've earned that.
Yeah.
And then the last stage, and not a lot of people go to this or have the motive to get to it, is legacy. If I get hit by a car now, in 10 years' time, can some 19-year-old soldier who's just come back from something that's terrified him and is having nightmares and getting angry all the time, can he find something and hear his own thoughts spoken back to him, and he can get help? And we're knocking on that door now, Mike. And so all I had to do was orientate the language from the military world to the civilian world. But again, I was still just trying to be successful in the civilian world. I'm going to run the process. I'll figure out how to do $1 million funnels. I'll figure out how to get paid as a speaker. And I'll take all that money back and I'll set up all these free initiatives for veterans.
Yeah.
But while I was here in the corporate world, they were all struggling with the same stuff, Mike. They were all struggling in the mirror. Depression, anxiety, PTSD, rape victims, sexual assault victims, victims of any description were struggling with the same things. Mm-hmm. So I wrote the VIP of mental health, did the exact same thing I did for soldiers, but I put it in civilian language so that everyone could understand.
Again, value, identity, and purpose of mental health.
Yeah, the VIP of mental health. So if you go to Dion Jensen.
Multiple books, so you have emotional health, spiritual, and physical. Are those all 3 separate books?
Yeah, so I'm going to do a series. I have to start with mental health first because you got to help people think and look at things a different way first, and that they will feel what they feel. And then the VIP of emotional health this is the link why you feel this way when you think this way.
Yeah.
And then the spiritual side is not really covered. And the example I give is, you remember acupuncture? You remember way back in the day, Mike, people were talking about acupuncture and needles, and the medical community going, "Oh, that's witch doctor rubbish. You can't get." Now, acupuncture is normal. That's part of physiotherapy. And so as we get further and further along those lines, as science catches up to that, we're now getting this truly holistic view of things. So coming back to what we were talking about, that the transition of being at the top of the mountain, having the power of life and death, to coming back to a civilian lifestyle, it was hell. It was horrible, because it was a full devaluing of everything that you had done.
Mm-hmm.
Because the VIP of your mental health did not match the VIP of the environment that you were walking into. The CEO doesn't care how many miles that you can hike with a pack. They don't care how many people you've killed or how many press-ups you can do.
Yeah.
They want to know how many prospects can you put in our sales funnel so that we can run this through and get a sale and get paid so you can get paid. And your reward for doing this is your paycheck. But the manner in which they were speaking back to people, that was a pure clash. So I was headhunted to run Asia Pacific because I could speak to all of these different mindsets. A CEO could say, Dion, engagement, productivity, and revenue is going down. Can you help? And I say, yes. I walk in there and I just put my lens and filter across it. And it's just a clash of value, identity, or purpose. And in the value side, it'll be the communication. Most issues we have is a devaluing. So making peace with the mirror is looking in the mirror and you having the highest value for you. Otherwise, you're going to look for someone else to give it to you, and you're never going to get it. Here's
something that's really big too: is you and I met through social media. And I'm in social media. The podcast is launched through social media, right? I have a social media company called Social Chameleon. So I believe it has many great uses, but I still do worry about what it can do to someone's mental, and spiritual and their overall well-being, because they're chasing likes. They're chasing that likability. Literally on Facebook, it's called likes, or the hearts on Instagram, or whatever it might be. And they're looking, and it's all relative too, which is interesting. Like someone could have 25 likes on a picture and feel good about it because they only got 12 up until that point, right? So 25 was like, hey, that's twice as double than what I usually get. Someone could get 100,000 and one post got 800, you know what I mean? Got 80,000, and all of a sudden they're down in the dumps that day. It's really interesting, but it's
designed that way, Mike, and it's designed in such a way that it makes your body react. So if we deep dive into social media now, social media is designed to make your body do things chemically. So if all of a sudden, and this is something I learned coming all the way through from being a bully kid and doing things, and I was basically I was just really, really cheeky. I had a big mouth and I ran away, right? So I was really good with words. Because I'm a mummy's boy. Dad was in the army. He's 6'6", Samoan, big, strong guy, rugby, basketball, the rest of it. And I'm the skinny little pimple-faced guy that used to skip around on the rugby field because I was a happy little kid, right? Who then ended up being good at basketball and boxing and everything else. But when you're going through doing things to be liked, the endorphin rush that you get when someone says, wow, you did a great job. What I do with my kids every morning, they wake up, man, and they come running over, give them a big hug and say, man, so good to see you. I missed you while you were asleep. I love you. And then we have a credo. Who are we? We say this every morning because I'm putting it in there every morning. We're kind, we're caring, we're clever, we're tough. We like having fun and making people laugh and going on adventures and holidays. We use kind words and kind hands, but if someone tries to hurt us, we fight like a ninja. And that's our family credo. So I'm putting it in there. Because I learned from the military, that is the programming that you need to survive in that environment. Now, if you don't consciously choose what to program yourself with, the world is going to program you because it's designed to program you to follow instruction.
Right.
And so the danger of social media, and I've been asked to do a national initiative on cyberbullying. So bullying is a huge initiative that I have, and I find it very simple. So we're releasing what's called inner mana. So mana is the New Zealand word that we use in New Zealand Māori to say this is your power, your internal power is your mana, is your connection to your ancestors, to your mountain, to your river, and when you activate your inner mana, nothing can hurt that. Like we do a haka, good luck trying to hurt us. We just generate this from the inside. And so as a parent, our job is to fill our kids' bucket of self-esteem so high that the world can't poke enough holes in it so they can get home to us, we can patch it up and refill them. So you can look at it programming.
I never heard that worded like that before, where build it up so strong that even when it takes a beating, which everyone's confidence is going to have outside forces, it could even be passively through just looking at someone else's post and them looking, they're looking great. And then you all of a sudden start to question yourself. They didn't even intentionally do that to the other person, right?
Correct.
By the time that your child gets home, or it could be yourself, and he gets back to the mirror, you can be a little bit beat up. But if you constantly are feeding yourself the right things in your head, and it could be things you're learning about your business and getting confident in your business, about your personal physique, and you're doing the actions behind it. There's self-talk. I haven't heard you talk about self-talk yet, so I'm interested in your theory on that. And then, so it does, basically you're building something that is going to go under fire, but it still has enough to withstand it, and then it can get repatched. So how is it, like daily? You're saying every day you should be in some kind of self-motivation?
Absolutely. And see, here's the thing. When you have to understand who you're talking to and what stage they're at in this journey of life. So if I'm talking to someone in crisis, do not talk to me about Goldcast videos. Do not talk to me about positive thinking. And for God's sake, do not talk to me about the law of attraction, or I will punch you in the throat. That's the mindset of someone who is in crisis. That is so condescending and devaluing all that crap, right? Go hug a tree, you Care Bear. That's what you feel when you're in crisis. But when you're out of crisis and you're like, man, that was horrible. I don't want to go in there again, but I don't know where to go next. That's the person where you grab for safety and go, right, we need to build up your self-esteem, your self-confidence, and for you to know how special and important you are. And then from there, you can build everything else on top of that. So in crisis is different. In crisis, they need strength and safety. Someone needs to go in and say, right, you're going to be safe with me, and I will help you get to the point where you can start making your own decisions. And then once we get into that point, that's when we've got to keep filling people up with the positive. You'll see on my Instagram, this is no offense to anyone, I choose specifically who I follow on Instagram, because these daily things that you're talking about every single day, someone is looking in this mirror. This has now become the mirror. So people are looking in this mirror more often than I'm looking at the bathroom in the mirror when I'm shaving in the morning, saying, morning, bro, it's good to see you. We're going to have an awesome day. We feel like crap. Yes, we do, but we're still going to have an awesome day. Oh, we feel like crap. You need to be quiet because we've got to feed the kids. So that in the dialogue we'll talk about afterwards, but this is the mirror that everyone's looking at. And that is an advantage, and it's also a risk, like you say. But every morning, the person you're looking at there is looking back and going, you're flipping awesome, until the point that when you look in the bathroom mirror, they're saying, you're flipping awesome, go and be more awesome and help other people be awesome. So I need to be on here. You need to be on here, Mike. We need to be on here. So if people are struggling with something, they can listen to this guy go, hey, you in the shitstorm? Been there? It's horrible. Stinks. Yeah, I've been there. I'm not going to give you any fluffy stuff, but if you don't want to be there anymore, click here. Click. Right, shitstorm series. Oh my God, this guy's speaking the voices in my head. What do I do next? And you walk them through to the point where they can make their own decision. Same when you're dealing with someone that's in suicide. But the inner dialogue is my whole book. I pulled my whole head out and I separated all my inner dialogue into 3 heroes, 3 villains, 3 reinforcements, and someone in charge. Because there's no one on the planet that can not have a character that assigns to a thought, feeling, or behavior. Your kids know those different parts of you, Mike. You know those different parts of you. Some we like, some we don't. And we know how to sort them out, and we know what to do to let them run free and create mayhem. So the self-talk is you've got to be very selective what you put in here, depending on where you are at this journey. All the motivational stuff, or at the stage of crisis doesn't work. All the motivational stuff at the point of, right, I'm safe from that. I want to make a decision. I want to grow. That's the time. But in the crisis time, you've already got enough dialogue saying that you're not good enough and this is all bad and it's better for you not to be here. You need to stop that, and that's why you reach out to a battle buddy and they start talking to you. Bro, I've been there. You'll get through it. This is how you do it.
So what's the first step? Someone's really in that crisis mode. They just went through a really devastating situation. It could be multiple things that have been compounding, and they maybe they're seeking the wrong kind of advice, and the person that they're getting advice from is trying to give them that. They're hitting them with too much warm and fuzzy stuff, and it actually pushes them backwards. So what would you say, if you can speak to someone in our audience, anybody right now, who can be maybe early on in that crisis stage where they're not maybe ready to take the first step forward, they just need some help? how can they identify it, and what can they do immediately in that situation?
Sure. Okay, so if you're from a military background, law enforcement background, reach out to your battle buddy.
Okay.
We've all got a battle buddy. Reach out to someone and say, I'm going through some stuff. And we don't like the word help.
Yeah.
Okay, so from a warrior background, we don't like the word help. So I always use the word reinforcements. So if we're in a battle, we've got no problem popping smoke, calling in reinforcements, calling in fire support, getting some backup, tactically withdrawing, suiting back up and going back in there. It's not a retreat, it's a tactical withdrawal. So when I say reach out for a battle buddy, that is popping smoke and calling in reinforcements.
Mm-hmm.
If your buddy got shot, you'd run over there from over your shoulder, return fire, get him back and patch him up. That's all we're doing. So if you reach out to a battle buddy and say, look, I'm going through some stuff. I need some help. Come over for a cup of tea, come over, whatever that may be. And that battle buddy listening to this, you just hold space and be there. And that's what you say. No matter what happens, I'm on your shoulder until we figure this out. And then you've got a couple of paths. You can talk to a GP and say, listen, I'm dealing with this. Can I talk to a counselor? And counselors and psychs to me are instructors. They're not professors, and we're school kids. We're instructors and experts in our own right. And I'm going to another expert and saying, hey, doc, my subconscious bodyguard's a little bit out of control. This guy is really annoying me because he's getting angry at the time. Can you give me some tools so I can sort him out? Right, so that's the military language. Reach out to a battle buddy. Talk to your unit psych. Talk to your unit counselor. Take your battle buddy with you and say, hey, I need some tools to sort this out. If you're a civilian, reach out again to someone that you trust. It's the same thing as a battle buddy. If you don't have anyone that you can reach out to right now, do a search on Facebook. And this is the beautiful thing about social media. Reach out on Facebook and search for a group. Search for a veteran support group. Search for single mom support group. Put your town in there. You will find someone online.
Yeah.
It's next to impossible to not find a group.
Right.
And then reach out to the
admin. You're going to connect with somebody.
Yeah. I mean, there's huge veteran support groups in the US. Vigilant Guard Brothers is one. They have one for brothers and sisters. And everyone's sort of connected. So right now you're in Buffalo, New York, right? If someone hears this podcast and comes all the way through to me via Facebook here in New Zealand and says, hi, Dion, listen to your podcast. I need help. I'm in Detroit, Michigan. I can find someone in Detroit, Michigan in my network to go and have a cup of coffee with that guy. That's the power of social media. And no matter how much in pain we are, anyone listening to this, no matter how bad it is for you right now, if I ask you to help someone else, you'd go. Because we talk about the hole. So when you're down in the hole, and when you're down in the hole, that's the last sort of place. You're at rock bottom, right? And you just want to lay down and go to sleep, or you want to come out and go out in a blaze of glory. Okay, so two options. But no matter how bad it is down there at the bottom of that hole, if you hear someone screaming for help, or you hear someone call medic or man down, you will leap out of that hole and you will crawl over broken glass to help someone, because it's fulfilling your value of having
purpose too, right? Yeah, you're on purpose again.
It's back to your identity of being a soldier. So if there's crisis and fear, then it activates purpose. That's the P. It activates your identity of who you used to be. Boom, you got that strong triangle, VIP, value, identity, and purpose, rock solid, and off you go.
So someone could take that if they don't have the military background. Whether they're running their own business or not, could be civilian, it could be anybody, it could be a banker, it could be a school teacher. But if they break it down to value, identity, and purpose, it's really important to build that purpose up first, right? So you know what you're solving for. And I had another guest, a great guest, Steve Nazarian. He focuses on why. Why do people do a particular thing, and why businesses do what they do? So when they get their messaging out, it's super clear about why it's better to go with company X and Y, because their purpose is really.
But if you do this right, there's a really deep level in that. Like I used to email Simon Sinek when I was in Iraq. Funny enough, when I first found this stuff, and the whole start with why and tell you about why. If you do something different, you never have to tell them that. You never have to tell someone why you're doing something. They'll know. And this is the power. So
I don't think it's about telling them why, though, Dion, too. It's about that person or business knowing when they're getting up why they're doing what they're doing. So if they have 12 tasks for the day, it's not what the tasks are, it's why they're doing them. So the big picture is being fulfilled is what I meant. Just to make sure we're on the same page.
Yeah. So that's tactical. So if we look at this, let me ask you a question. Here you go. I'm going to spin this interview around on mic now. So if If you weren't listening before, start paying attention now. Here we go. Mike's having a drink. He's getting ready. Barriers are coming up. I'm blabbering on to give him some more time to get ready for this question. Are you ready, Mike?
I'm ready.
What's more powerful, your thoughts or your feelings?
I would say feelings, and it's because they can be almost identified as one in themselves, but a feeling is kind of driving what the thought is. I personally feel, right? So like if I'm feeling sad, then my thought process behind it is relative to how I'm feeling in the moment. If I'm having a feeling of elation, right, or something positive, then I feel like the thought is connected to that feeling. So, but I'm going to let you do your thing because there's a reason you asked me the question. I don't want to counter my answer, but I do know like how powerful the mind is. I'm reading Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and I know the power of what you put in your brain, right, and what you tell yourself. So thought, I feel like your thought can change your feelings too. So maybe if I attack the question that way, your thoughts can help change your feelings, then I would say thoughts are superior.
Interesting choice of words in your answer, aren't they? Because you're rationalizing.
I just answered the question both ways, so I can't be wrong.
Yeah,
Like that.
So who do you love the most in the world, Mike?
Who do I love the most in the world? That's a simple question for me. I'd say my daughter, Isabel.
Okay. Can you explain to me why you love your daughter?
Yeah. We'll be here for forever, but I understand the question because there's no, it's you don't have to think about it when it's a child, right, or someone that you love so purely. You don't even think about it. It's just as natural.
Exactly. So I believe, and this has been my focus, that our greatest power, the greatest power that you possess, Mike, is how you make another human being feel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the reason everyone's doing start with why is because if you can attach the why in through the gateway of that person, which is the mind, which is the thoughts, if you can put that in such a way that it gets to the heart, where they love what your company does, where they just trust everything. These are all emotions. They're using the gateway to come through the eyes and the ears, through the marketing, all the way through to get to the heart, to activate an emotion, to have an emotional connection to their business. The most successful businesses in the world have an emotional connection, correct?
100%. Yeah,
so why not start there?
Yeah, people don't remember what you always say to them, but they remember how you made them feel. So if you're doing a consultation and you sit down, whether business is conducted or not, you leave 3 days later, their neighbor said, "Hey, I saw that you were working with someone from company X." They're going to remember how you felt. They're going to speak from how they felt during that consultation, not exactly what the person said. So there you go. I re-answered your question again.
So I prefer to use the heart as the gateway. I prefer to use emotions as the gateway.
Sure.
And so anyone listening to this, I want to ask you the same question for you personally, because everyone's different. For some people, thoughts are more important because, for 1 out of 4 people, it's the rational, it's the mental, the intellect side that is their driver. For others, they're emotional people. So everyone listening to this, are you led by your head or your heart? So you'll be able to answer that for yourself while you're driving. Yell it out in the car if you want to. Freak your kids out and then just look at the person in the next lane and yell out head or heart. But in that, ask yourself this question. Where do I feel the most valuable?
Yeah.
Where is it that I feel happy, liked, challenged, whatever you need within your emotions? Where do you enjoy being the most? And who are you around during that? For those of you that need the intellectual, where are you getting this? Because most people aren't getting it at work, they're getting it online. So a lot of my guys, they like gaming because they have control of it. They don't have control of their life, so they go into games, they play games. For me, I'm enjoying building sales funnels because I love process, but it's how it makes me feel. It makes me feel like I'm growing. It makes me feel like I'm one step ahead. So people are driven by their emotions. That's why it's called social media, Mike. It's not called mental media. It's all about the social side. And so they understand that. So if I'm consulting to a business and I'm doing a one-on-one consultation with a high-level leader or a politician that is struggling in the mirror, they can't let anyone know they're struggling.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot show weakness as a leader in crisis. So all your Brene Brown talk about vulnerability is the key to connection has no place in crisis. Now, I love Brene Brown. I went through my whole vulnerability side and I walked along with her through her journey. Love her. But you do not want to show vulnerability in a war, in crisis, or a business battle. You will get eaten.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I am consulting to those high-level leaders, we lock down their VIP triangle first.
Mm-hmm.
And there's exercise in the workbook and in the workshops that I take them through is let's get you rock solid in the mirror first.
Mm-hmm.
And by going through that process as a leader, then I say, you need to understand what I just took you through for every single person that you are leading in your company.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can't tell me the last name of all your employees, whether they got kids and why they're working there, you're never going to
got a lot of work to do. Yeah. You got to know.
It shouldn't be, Mike. It shouldn't be a lot of work. It should be walking there. So, right, I'm starting.
No, I'm saying if they don't know that, then they got a lot of work to do, meaning they haven't been paying attention for a long time.
Correct.
Yeah.
And see, and once you go through that, you can assign tasks so much easier. Mm-hmm. You can communicate in such a way that you always get the result, because there is one thing that raises confidence more than anything else on the planet, Mike, and it's not positive thinking. Results, yeah. The fastest way to raise self-esteem and self-confidence is results. You can tell me how handsome I am till the cows come home, but if I'm looking in the mirror and all I'm seeing is my fat guts, that's not going to help. But if someone says, why are you at the gym? That's why I love personal trainers, because there is no personal trainer that's going to argue with me. People do not come to a gym to get fit. People don't go to a gym to work out because they want to be fit and strong. There's something in those 4 hours. For most of us, I don't want to have a fat guts. I want to be able to walk around with my shirt off and my wife go, he's all right. So I'm not going to the gym so that I have a strong core. So I have
in the 4 L's, right? Which are looks, language, likability, and legitimacy.
Legitimacy, yeah. So if we quickly cover off on those then. So looks, it's going to be too fat, too skinny, too tall, too short, too black, too white, acne, deformities, disabilities, something in those looks. And what happens is when you're struggling in the mirror, you're going to take that one part of that mirror, you're going to break that little piece off, which means I'm overweight, I'm overweight, I'm overweight. And then all of a sudden your life mirror becomes I'm overweight and I'm no good and I'm ugly. And that becomes your whole mirror. You've just taken that one little bit out of context and you've just blown up to be this whole mirror. Where when we go through this process is, okay, I'm looking in my mirror right now. Dion, you still got a broken nose. You never fixed that because you always expect to get another one. And I can look at these things that I want to work on, but then I can look at all the things that I'm happy with. And you've got to keep it in context. And so the look side of things is what feeling is that attached to? Because feelings are more important. And then when we get to language, that's when the self-talk comes in, right? So what language are you saying to yourself? What language are you setting from other people? But on social media, one of the biggest issues of language, what are you saying on social media that you get attacked for? Right? If you disagree with anyone on social media, you are going to get slayed. So now you can't come, and I like using Trump. And so let me talk about Donald Trump for a second, because now everyone's really going to listen. As firstly, I respect the office of the President of the United States of America. I respect that office after having served with American soldiers. I respect that country and I respect that office.
Brother,
I have never met.
Appreciate you starting with that.
Thank you. So I have never met Donald Trump. So I don't know anything about the guy. But what I see and what is very impressive, good or bad, is he has the microphone and he's like a doctor with his finger doing this. And wherever he goes, people just look, whether they like him or whether they don't, he has their focus. And the number one skills in crisis as a leader is to maintain people's focus. So I'm not going to drop down into good, bad, indifferent, effective, not effective.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
But that's,
I think more Americans need to take your wisdom right there, because so many people are there's so much diversity right now, and like them, hate them, and there's very little in between. And as a country, I feel the first thing we need to do is support our president of the United States of America, support our country, and and then work on your indifferences, right? And even if you support him, you have to realize everything he says you don't have to agree with. And if you absolutely, I hate the word hatred, but people are haters, and it's the word. If you dislike him on a high level, doesn't mean that everything he says is not true either. So you got to have reason when you're thinking And so sorry about that tangent, but people just need
No,
to.
that's fine, because the reason I mentioned Trump is he's a master of keeping people's focus, which shows the power of focus. What you focus on will affect how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you like him or love him, dislike him or hate him, what feelings is he activating within you and why? Because that is a huge favor. Your haters and the things that give you the strongest emotional response have the greatest lessons. So if you're someone that hates Trump, on the female side, because some of the stuff he says about females, I totally disagree with what he says.
Mm-hmm.
And I did this with Gary Vee. So let's take another context here. I've never met Gary Vee. I don't know the guy. Apparently does a lot of good things. He's got a lot of good fans. Mm-hmm. And in one video that he came out with, a kid basically says, look, my mum says I should be doing this. And he turned around on camera with his influence and said, you know what, bro? F your mum. And I was just like, I beg your pardon? You didn't just say that. So he just said it again. No, you're an adult. You know what you want to do. No, F your mum. I'm just like, bro, no. That is not okay. You speak to your mum like that in New Zealand, you wake up somewhere else. That's a line you never use those words to your mum. Mm-hmm. But because he had the influence and I was like, no. So I stood up against that. Doesn't mean I have an issue with Gary Vee. Doesn't mean
the delivery wasn't the right delivery.
What he said, I have an issue with what you said, Mike. You and I get on great. If we disagree, we're going to disagree, but because we lost the art of debate, we can keep the disagreement in the subject content, not make it personal. But because everyone's emotions are opened up now on social media, it's easier to control. It's easier to control people when they're scared or when they're angry, because there's easy energy to direct. When people are scared, they'll follow. Mm-hmm. When they're super angry, every time you poke them, they're going to come back in the same direction. So they're very easy to control. So that's looks and language. Likability is a huge one, because that really attaches into acceptance and judgment and stigma and belonging. Mm-hmm. So you have to do things to be liked. And we do a disservice to our women, and we both got daughters here. Right? The moment we allow them to wear makeup, we are telling them that their face is not good enough. Now, my daughter plays dress up, wears makeup, the rest of it, it's a costume, it's a role you play. It doesn't define your likability based on your looks linking through, because these all link to each other, right? Mm-hmm. The moment we let them wear makeup. So what have we got all over these things? We got filters and got all these apps to make you look perfect right way, so you fit in. And that'll spin the other way, where we'll get to AI, we'll bust through AI, and then we'll go back to, we want human connection, and then human connection will be the big thing in 100 years, and we'll just keep going around in circles.
That's really funny. I never thought about that, but in 50 years, it could be like the most popular thing to do is get a cup of coffee with someone.
Yeah. And see, this
today,
is
like nothing, but then, well, now we're in quarantine, but I'm saying like it's an everyday practice in business. Hey, let's catch up and get coffee. And then all of a sudden AI takes over for 50 years. And the cool thing is going to be like going getting a cup of coffee to sit with someone.
Exactly
I wouldn't hold it against the reality of what we're living in.
No. And so this is another really interesting point. And actually, let me finish off on likability. So there's so many things that we do to be liked, because we want that acceptance, because we want to be loved, right? Mm-hmm. That's why Facebook calls it likes. And so the Goldcast video that you saw was Goldcast taking my 18-minute speech, which I did for Ideas and Inspirations with Japuru. That's an 18-minute speech. And they cut that down to 3 minutes. So I paid attention. What did they take out of my 18 minutes? Having this huge machine of 30 million people worth of data, what parts of my 18-minute speech did they see as important to their people? Mm-hmm. And so what you just saw in the Goldcast video is those key points that they saw as the most important. But if you watch the full 18 minutes, there's so many other pieces. And then there's actually a picture of me in the mirror with the fat guts, which I hate seeing. I still hate seeing it. And then I talk about, so I put this picture up of me with a fat guts. And then I talk about all the positive stuff that I did. And then I said, and here's my after photo. And I put an after photo up of now what I look like after doing all this positive stuff and rebuilding myself. It's the same photo. So I'm talking, the audience is sort of looking at me like, hey, that's the same photo, dude. You know what's going on. And I'm talking, can you see the difference? Can you see the difference? You know, I've done all this positive stuff. Now, can you see the difference? And they're like, no. I was like, that's the point. You can't see any of this going on. You can't see this battle going on.
Yeah.
They don't judge people. And so when you go through this VIP process of making peace with the mirror, You are so much more empathetic when you see other people, even people that are annoying you. You can now look at them and go, okay, I've activated that fear of likability here because I've said this, man, I really apologize. I didn't mean it that
Think
way.
about their lens, right? You got to be mindful of their lens and what they're dealing with too.
Yeah. So the mask concept now becomes the reflection concept. We're not seeing people's true form. We're just seeing their reflection. This is just a reflection. It's not the true form.
With a ton of filters on it. Here's what I want to do, because we're at about an hour. Usually these go about an hour, and I have about 5 questions I'd like to have you hit on. I don't mind going a little bit later. If you have the time, I can squeeze it in here. I think I know the audience is going to benefit from it. So my 5 questions are a little lightning round style.
That's good.
What's one new skill or positive takeaway from the quarantine for you?
Reconnecting to family.
Reconnecting to family. Love it. Who is your biggest influence? Maybe it's a favorite book or podcast to listen to.
Well, that's an interesting one. It is Pastor Stephen Furtick from Elevation Church. Now, I told you I hate religion, so I don't listen to any Christian-y, pastory stuff. And then in one of my leadership podcast search, I found Pastor Stephen Furtick. And this guy just Furtick.
Okay, I'm going to check him out.
And he just makes things very simple, mixes a whole lot of humor and links it back to scripture and lets you choose.
Mm-hmm. If you can be known for one thing, what would it be?
He's the guy that helped me make peace with the mirror.
Yeah. That's awesome. One message, and this you can elaborate a little bit longer on. One message to leave our audience inspired to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams.
Right. Bravery comes from how you deal with fear. You must have the correct relationship with fear for you. There's lots of different ways to deal with fear. For me, fear is my best friend and my hardest working employee. That guy never takes a day off, doesn't take a second off. So he is my best friend and my most valuable employee, all right? He works for free. So you must have the correct relationship with fear in order to be brave. Mm-hmm. Now, to be bold, and it's interesting you say that because I have a scripture, Proverbs 28:1 on my wrist, which says, the wicked flee when no man pursueth, but the righteous are as bold as a lion. And what makes a lion bold is it knows exactly what to do in any given situation. Mm-hmm. So in order to be brave, you have to have the correct relationship with fear. In order to be bold in all that you do, you need to know what to do. So you need to learn. You need to grow. You need to study. You need to partner with people to follow. Pick someone that's 3 levels ahead of you and hunt them down. Mm-hmm. And then in a situation, if I know what to do, then you can be really, really bold. And then when it comes to having that purpose at the end of that, you've got to have a map. Mm-hmm. You've got to have a strategy. And everyone does these catchphrases, start with the end in mind and blah, blah, blah. But a strategy that works for you. If you don't know how to map out a simple strategy from A to Z with all the points on the side, start there. You'll never stay on that course because life won't let you. Yeah. But you've got to have a strategy to work to so that every day when you wake up and you get through the normal routine of the day, I know that today at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm speaking to Mike from Buffalo, New York, and I'm going to be speaking to his people, and I'm going to give them everything I can possibly give them for the next hour. And that's part of a huge strategy of going out there, and I have one simple message: empower people. Mm-hmm. And empowerment is giving them a power you already possess. Don't make one up if you don't have one. I have a power that I can help people make peace with the mirror. Someone that wants to kill themselves, I can generally get them back. And I can help people map out a strategy where they want to go. That's my power. And so I want to give that power to as many people as I can through speaking and training and workshops and books so they can take it and use it and help the next person. So have the right relationship with fear and make peace with that mirror. Then have a map so you know exactly what to do. Then you can be brave and bold and have the life you want to have. Yeah, man, that is so well said. And thank you for pinpointing it so everyone could follow along. And I hope everyone who's listening right now has the ability to take notes. And if you don't, the great thing is you can go back, rewind it, and take notes on everything that Dion's saying. And one of the things I love, I actually edit my own show. So when I'm doing that, I'm learning again from my guest in a way of experiencing it similar to how a listener is going to hear it, right? Because I'm listening back to it. Last thing we're going to wrap up with, and thank you so much, and it's in gratitude
and thank you for being here. I'm grateful for your friendship, grateful for your wisdom. Today was a big moment. We had this circled on the calendar. So what are 3 things that you're most grateful for?
I'm grateful for waking up.
Mm.
Number 1, I opened my eyes, and I'm going to talk too much. You can edit this later. But I remember when I lost myself and I had turned my back on everything, and I just wanted to get revenge for my mate getting killed. And I embraced the dark side, and I just wanted to be bad. I just wanted to just find any excuse to unleash all this pain in myself. And I was on a plane back from the Middle East, and this guy came to sit next to me, and I just knew he was a Christian. Mm-hmm. You know, those on fire for God Christians, they're bouncy, they're happy, they're like Poppy from Trolls and Care, but they're just exuding goodness. And I remember sitting there thinking, don't. I'm just not in the mood. And he sat next to me, and he's sitting there, and he's sort of looking at me, and he's sitting there, he's looking at me, and I'm just sitting there thinking, don't, I'm not interested. And he just kept looking at me. And so I looked at him. He's like, hi. I'm like, hi. And I'm trying not to look. And he goes, what do you do? I said, the least amount possible. And I'm trying to flog this guy off, but he's sitting next to me.
The least
amount
possible.
Yeah, and I'm sort of sitting there. And then, you get that little bit of guilt, because I was raised to have at least manners, right? And I was like, well, I said, what do you do? You know what he says? I'm a missionary. And I'm like, of course you are. This just has to be, right? Just don't even bother. And then I was just like, all right, bro, so how did you become a missionary? And he goes, wanted to kill myself, wife left me, haven't seen my kid in 10 years. And I was like, whoa. I said, well, how did you find your way back? And he goes, I just became grateful for everything I could possibly become grateful for. And he goes, I would open my eyes and I would wake up and I'd say, thank you that I can see. And I would sit up on my bed and I'll say, thank you, I can sit up, and thank you, I have a bed. And I put my feet on the floor, and he goes, by the time I got to the toilet, I had more things to be grateful for than what I didn't have. And when you put that all together, that was my fault, and I'm going to have this life of gratitude.
Total perspective, yeah.
Just
there's a physical, there's a science behind gratitude too. Yeah. When you're actually genuinely grateful, thinking about those things, putting your feet on the ground and being like, hey, I'm able to sit up, stand up, and walk, and you really think about how powerful that is. You're unable to be angry, or I don't know the exact science, but there's whatever is produced there, then the endorphins are not able to have you be angry at the same time. Now, I'm not saying you can, like, someone all day long just thinks of grateful things, because you have to be productive in your day. Also, you got to go do the actions behind it. But it's just a really strong thing to wire your brain to be thinking in gratitude.
Yep. So I'm always grateful to wake up, and I always say thank you when I wake up. Oh, it's another day, because you give me 24 hours, I can do some stuff. Right? So I'm always grateful to wake up, and then there's always a prayer of gratitude for my family. Mm-hmm. Thank you for my family. I've got a loving wife. I've got 2 beautiful kids. I've got a roof over my head. I've got food in the cupboard. And the third thing that I'm grateful for is I have free will, man. Mm-hmm. I've woken up. I've got 24 hours. I had a good family. I can do whatever the heck I want, Mike. Mm-hmm. And no one can stop me.
Yeah. Freedom. Yeah. Not
total freedom.
You do not want to take that for granted.
But everyone's got that in their mind. Everyone has that power in their mind. Whether there's someone sitting in jail right now, we can look at Nelson Mandela, we can look at Viktor Frankl, we can look at these people, the freedom that people can take your physical freedom, but don't let them take your mental freedom, and don't give your mental freedom up. Be free to think what you want to think. Be free to feel what you want to feel. Be free to do what you want to do. As long as you're not harming anyone else, give yourself permission to live that way.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That is awesome, man. So many great points here. Thank you for being on the show. I got notes. I got some crazy notes. It's going to be fun for me editing this and going back and hearing everything that you have to say. I'm going to give it to everybody again. Mr. Dion Jensen is his IG handle. I'm putting that up on the screen for you. On Facebook and LinkedIn, it's simply Dion, D-I-O-N, last name Jensen. Follow Dion, because you're going to have so much great content. As he talked about, you can use social media for a way to have it kind of turn you off to the wrong course, or you can go and find the right things that you're putting in your head consistently on a daily basis. And if you're looking for another person to add to that funnel for your daily self-motivation and inspiration, I would say add Dion to the mix. Thank you so much for being here today.
You're very welcome, Mike. And all my books are free to download at dionjensen.com. Please help yourself. And whoever's listening to this right now, you have every right to be on this planet, same as anyone else, and have the life that you choose. You look in that mirror, you be your best friend, you back yourself.
I love it, man. Thank you so much. Grateful for you. And let's keep this thing rolling. I'm always a phone call away. I'm 16 hours in the past. So I'm probably going to call you more than you call me, because I'm going to be looking for the next move.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. And I make a commitment now that I will come to Buffalo, New York, and we will do an Instagram live over a coffee, because like you say, one day, 50 years after AI, just like we get a real buzz patting a live tiger in the zoo, and actually being able to shake someone's hand in the flesh will be a highlight.
Yeah, absolutely. What you see here, if you're wondering what this is, the word mafia over at Buffalo, it's actually Bills Mafia for the Buffalo Bills, our sports team here in town. And there's just so much great history here with this team, and the way people follow it and the way we get crazy. It's similar to football, like in England, actual football or soccer, how rowdy those crowds are. That's how the Buffalo Bills fans are. And
so that's us. We're going to a game, right? When I come over?
Yeah, you come over. We'll go to a game. You'll enjoy it. You'll get some actual chicken wings. We don't call them buffalo wings here. Called chicken wings here. It's where it originated.
Wow.
And we'll watch a game, and you'll get to see some rowdy fans. And for some reason on national TV, they only show the negative things, like some fans are throwing each other into tables.
Yeah,
that's rowdy, but that's reckless that's like reckless activity. There's rowdy and some really great people. So many great people I met that are Bills fans that are doing the company who created this flag. So, they donate a portion of it every 2 weeks. They have a new t-shirt design that comes out, and they take a cut of that and they give it to a family in need.
Oh,
so the name of the company is called 26 Shirts, because every 2 weeks, it's 26 designs in a year. My friend actually owns it. His name's Del Reed. And so out of support for 26 Shirts, we have the Bills Mafia flag here that makes itself into every episode of Mic'd Up.
Oh, that's fantastic. I'll have to give me one of those shirts. I'll swap you one.
There you go. I really like the design on Lion Academy as well.
You're grateful. And what's really interesting, it comes from Proverbs 28:1, but if you look in the middle, there's actually a lioness in the middle as well. So it's actually masculine and feminine. You got the male lion and you got the female. Because you got to have things in balance and harmony, right? Obviously, I'm the male version.
Yeah.
I'm a mummy's boy, and my wife's pretty tough too. So.
I love it, man. Thank you so much again, and enjoy the rest of your day. Give you a virtual fist bump.
Roger that. Thanks very much, Mike.
Yeah.
Be great. Be grateful.
That's right. Hey guys, super excited to announce that Mike's Warriors LLS fundraiser is now live. The button is active on Facebook. You'll see that when I'm posting, that you'll be able to click on the Donate Now button. It's also active on my website as well. So if you guys are able to do that, I want to thank you ahead of time for participating and helping out a greater cause. I do want to be mindful, obviously, through coronavirus. Some of us have been compromised in our health. We have a family member or friend that we know that's battling through that right now. Some of us have either lost our jobs or have been working in conditions that we're not used to. So maybe we lost clients due to this because they had to close their doors. Whatever it might be, I just want you to know that I am mindful of the current situation going on. And I completely respect if you're unable to donate at this time, or maybe you're hesitant to do that. All I ask in that situation, if you're not able to personally give, is if you can share this with your friends and family. Literally share it through social media, or just at the dinner table talk about it. Hey, Mike's doing something for Leukemia Lymphoma Society, and you can get that information in front of more people. That right there is a tremendous help, and I'm grateful for you doing that. If you're able to give a little bit, maybe half of what you were able to do before, whatever it is, we're grateful for it. We can do this $1 at a time. We're going 10 weeks here. The kickoff call last night, there was just so much energy on it that people are overcoming some of the adversity that we're dealing with, and we're helping each other out. And I just see the energy that people have behind Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and also myeloma as well. Did you guys know that 40% of kids that are battling cancer, it's a blood-related cancer? And of those children, right now, if they're in a hospital, they're having limitations, and some not even able to see their parents. I can't even imagine being in that situation. My heart goes out to all the families that are impacted by any cancer. especially blood-related cancers right now, as this campaign is live. So I'm thanking you ahead of time for donating. Anything you can do, $25, $50, $100. If it's more than that, seriously, appreciate everything that you guys are doing to help me. Again, if you donate, also share. If you're unable to donate, please share this. Extremely thankful for you listening right now, giving me your attention for a couple minutes here. You guys can check out more show notes and information on each episode at mikeduppodcast.com, MIKED uppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.